peace abroad and peace here at home. Looks like we're going to get a little bit more of that, which is what we need uh, across the world and also here in America, step by step. Here we go, folks. I'm going to give them the current news, reflections, and opinions of myself. My name is Doug, and welcome back to my YouTube channel, Shiblon Faithful. It is Thursday, August 21st, 2025. The last recording that I posted here on my channel was 8 days ago, and it was starting off with the title of Enough is Enough. And it's about my reflections about Trump taking back our nation's capital, Washington, D.C. Well, it's 8 days later, of course. I'm going to give the current follow-up news that is current exactly right now, what's going on right now. I'll save that for my last story. I want to talk about a few things, short and sweet. First one's going to be about several days ago when President Trump welcomed President Putin to America, to Anchorage, Alaska, to the Elmendorf-Richardson Joint Base there to have a meeting face-to-face here in American soil about ending the war between Russia and Ukraine. And I think that was a productive and a confident meeting by President Trump and a warm meeting as well. I'm glad he did this. And then about a day and a half later, President Trump was back in the White House where he welcomed President Zelensky once again and had a good conversation with him. And then later on, just a short time after that, that same afternoon, Monday afternoon, he met with several European leaders. They all got together, including Zelensky as part of that as well, around a table where they had a public meeting and words, and then they went back for private discussions after that about ending the war. Good, productive meeting. Really, it's good. There's only one concern. I can't remember what it was, but the German representative, I think is the chancellor, brought up something which I feel it was going to be. He really stressed something. I wish I could remember what it was, but I knew it was not going to be to Trump's liking. But the other ones, all the rest of them, really supported Trump. You could tell from their spoken words to President Trump and to the press who were on the other side of the camera as you're viewing it. Really good meeting. Zelensky really was a lot better this time than he was the last time he visited some time ago. It's a lot better. So I got high hopes. I really believe, though, to tell you about that, and my belief is that the security guarantees will be in place somehow, not with American troops in Ukraine, but with Western troops that are not NATO. Once again, not NATO troops, but from these different European nations will work together inside Ukraine as a security blanket, so to speak, for Ukraine, and to keep Russia from trying to invade. But it also will not involve NATO. It'll be a sticking point for President Trump and for President Putin that they are not going to be allowed, as we promised years ago. We promised Russia, President Putin then, that we would not allow Ukraine to join NATO. That would be a threat, a direct threat, right on the border between Ukraine and Russia, have a NATO country. So that's going to be a sticking point right there. So it's going to be no NATO, be security troops, but it won't be NATO troops. And I do believe that Zelensky is going to have to give a large chunk of the land that's already in eastern Ukraine under Russian control, over by Donetsk and other areas around that area, different areas in the eastern part of Ukraine. I think that's going to be essential. And if they're able to do that, and anything that needs to be done, then we might have a very good peace treaty finally to end the war. Also, I want to talk about something kind of different. I think and I believe that the U.S. should get out of the United Nations. We need to get out of the UN through and through immediately and fully, and get them to move that building or to meet elsewhere outside the United States, no longer in the UN building that's in New York City, but to do it somewhere in Europe, maybe in Belgium, et cetera, but to get out of here and for us to leave the UN. They've been anti-U.S. so many times over the years and anti-Israel every single time. They're not the organization that President Truman hoped that they would be. not by a long shot. And a couple more things I want to talk about. Uh, the be fit, not fat, is a word to think it was Secretary Kennedy, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., as he was shown working out with a bunch of troops behind him and law enforcement, possibly, but also with Secretary Pete Hegseth. Together, they're doing push-ups and pull-ups, etc. And their goal is to help America get back in shape, similar to the program that President John F. Kennedy had way back in the beginning in the early 60s for our nation and our children. And that's what they're trying to do for adults, but also for the children as well, for the youth, to get back in shape, to eat the right foods, and also to exercise to get back in shape, America. So it's just really cool to see them do it. And they're in a lot better shape than I am. So I need to get fit and stop being fat myself. I guarantee you. And the last thing I want to talk about is related to uh, taking back DC. Last story of this. President Trump is right now, as we speak, on patrol in the streets of Washington, D.C. with law enforcement. I'm not sure which, there's more than one law enforcement team out there of different sorts within the government. I'm not sure which one he is, or whether he's going to go on multiple ones or just one. But I do know that he's a ride along, in effect, to go through the streets today and possibly into the night. And we'll get his report as soon as he finishes this or shortly after. I'm glad he's doing that. He's going out there. He's not afraid. I'm sure it's going to be protected through and through. But it shows a lot of guts and courage on his part to do so, especially with DC the way it is. I do understand that in the last several days, that crime in the DC has gone down dramatically in many different factors, which is good to see and good to know. But I'm glad President Trump is out there right now as we speak. I love you all. And I want to end this with the words from Moses, which he spoke unto Joshua in the Old Testament, as recorded in the Old Testament. Be strong and of a good courage. May we do so as well. Until we meet again. Take care.